Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and it's time for another Kickstarter to back or not to back. It's worth noting, before we jump into this, that next week looks like another light week, so it may well be that next week we'll have to find another replacement video for this series, but as usual, it will be Kickstarter-centric. Maybe I'll cover the Kickstarters I wish I had backed or something like that. Last week I did the ones I regret backing, or not regret, shouldn't have backed. Either way, let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to have Kickstarter adjacent. We're going to have a few things not funding. As usual, we will totally forget to mention the picks of the week because that's what I do. But let's go ahead and jump into it, starting off with Steph's awesome gaming calendar. Speaking of which, before I talk about forgetting other things, Katya Howitson, I'm totally sorry for not calling out your gaming calendar when it was on Kickstarter. I meant to, and then I forgot. So sorry about that. But anyway, Steph's awesome gaming calendar 2022. Steph, if you don't know her, she plays an embarrassing amount of games. And embarrassing not on her count, embarrassing on my count. I play a lot of games. I have something like 500 plus plays this year so far. Steph has double that number. She plays an insane amount of games. I'm happy she exists, but she does make me feel slightly inefficient as a human being. So that's going to be Steph, and this is her gaming calendar. She's done this, I think she's done this more than just twice, but she's done it twice on Kickstarter. You can go ahead and check this out. This is board game adjacent, in case you're interested in a board game calendar with a lot of pictures. Moving on from there, we have the Jasper Modular shelves coming in at $300,000. We have a lot of things that crossed the $100,000 this week, going to be a lot of content, but the Jasper Modular shelves coming in at $300,000, only 320 backers though, and that's because of the price point. The price point on these shelves is going to run you for a shelving unit. We'll go through the page in a second. A shelving unit, any individual cube could be running you like $50 plus, and a full shelving unit, a 5x5 Calyx, if you're trying to replace like my 5x5 Calyx behind me, which is $150, is going to cost you anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 to replace that, but you do get a healthy dose of modularity along the way. This is board game tables. They have board game tables, they have board games, and now they have their modular shelving unit. I do recommend, here, let's go ahead and just look at this beautiful little thing just, popping up. Look at the various configurations it has. Also pretty. Look at that, look at that. And yeah, we have this over here. They have a few ways you can go ahead and play with their customizer to just kind of mess with it. I do recommend jumping into that if you are in the market for board game shelves. If you are not, then why bother? Worst case scenario, you end up tempting yourself and you end up getting something you don't want to get. So yeah, you can see over here, $70 for a single cube. This single cube over here is the size of roughly a Calyx cube. And then over here we have larger shelves and ways to mix and match them together to give you all kinds of different configurations, which has a few bonuses. It fits to variable spaces. It has a shelf that can grow with you. You can add a few more. Obviously, you'll have to deal with the various customization or screws every time you add a shelf or readjust them. There's a high degree of modularity in terms of the way you can do cabinets and the way you can do accessories, the way you can do basically everything in the shelf, the way you can slot them together. You can see over here how you can slot these at any given point. They have those little, you can see those little slats over there. That gives you a high degree of customization as far as how you can connect these things. And it also means, let me see if I can show you one more thing over here. They had a good indicator of, let's see if we can find it over here. We have build your layout where you can play around with things over there. And then we had something I want to show you specifically because it gives you a good idea of how you can mess around with some configurations to save money based on the way you use the empty space as well as the full space. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So over here, this is going to cost you $3,300 for everything, but depending how you mix and match, you can get much different spaces as you use all the empty space within it. You're using empty space in between these shelves, giving you more fake shelves through the walls of the other shelves. So you can be creative in the way that goes. That is enough time spent on Board Game Adjacent. Next up, we have Vast Grimm, which is on GameFound and is an RPG that I looked through the page. I don't know enough about RPGs in general or this RPG to really be knowledgeable in this one. I'm talking about it because it's Board Game Adjacent and it's on GameFound, so I'll reference its existence. The art scheme and color scheme and dice and extras and holographic magnetic boxes, all those things are cool. I know nothing about the game, so just bringing it to your attention and existence and all that, and if you're interested, you can go ahead because there'll be a link down below to check this one out. And then lastly, in Board Game Adjacent, and this is technically a board game, but I have to call this Board Game Adjacent, is going to be Orlog, the Assassin's Creed Valhalla dice game, at $500,000, 8,000 people back in this game. Good for them. This is going to be officially licensed, I believe it's officially licensed. I believe they are working together with Ubisoft to basically bring you the Orlog dice game, which is going to be more than just the Orlog dice game. Orlog is going to be the dice game you can play in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's a light, simple game. It's not one that, I haven't played it. Full disclaimer, I have not played it, but it's not one I'd recommend based on how I know it plays. It involves rolling a few dice, assigning a few attributes. There are much better games, seemingly. I have to use the word seemingly. There have been times in my life where I thought a game was not good based on the way the rules were written or explained or whatever, and they turned out they were excellent. I don't think this is one of those exceptions, but it's worth noting. Your base entry point for this is going to come in at roughly $49, or $49 Canadian more specifically, $39 US plus shipping and all that. But then they have the Tavern Edition where you can get like a full Kickstarter exclusive horn and rester thingy replica with resin and all these. Lots of things you can do, lots of fun ways you can spend money here. Very few of them related to actual board games past the Orlog board game. That's going to be board game adjacent Orlog from the Assassin's Creed universe. Which brings us to things not currently funding, and we have a few of those. I think we have three of them so far. And we have Top Pop, the board game, which is going to be the bottles cap stacking game. This is going to be coming at you from I cannot blank on the name, Talon Strike Studios. Thank you. Talon Strike Studios have done a whole bunch of games. I think they're going to be most famous for vinyl. The most recent game on Kickstarter is going to be The Night Market. They had before that the Shadow Network. They have a whole variety of games. This is their 11th game on Kickstarter. This one currently isn't funding. First of all, it's new, so that's going to be part of it as well. In fact, I would say from the three we currently have not funding, I think there's a decent chance all of them will fund. But that said, Top Pop is going to be a lighter game that's going to be more of a game in the vein of games like No Thanks, or games that give you a little bit of a minor puzzle to play with, and Top Pop is doing that with bottle caps. You're playing as various soda magnets of trying to get your soda into all these different cities. To that end, you're going to be playing cards either in front of you or in front of opponents, and those cards are going to give you different benefits, because having cards in front of you is good, but when you play a card in front of your opponent, you get an extra bottle cap to play with, and by play with, I mean to use to get their form of area control on these various cities. The Kickstarter is going to come with 2 expansions in it that are Kickstarter exclusive. You can see over here, the Soda Pop City Pack, which is bringing you 7 city power cards. Those are going to be power cards that activate every time you acquire a city. Acquire a city card more specifically, and then 12 scenario cards that give you different rules and ways to play the game. It's a light little area control puzzle of variable player count and, 2 to 5 players, I think it is. I think it's 2 to 5 players, I have to double check that. But I think it's 2 to 5 players, 5 player boards over here, giving you a variety of different cities and a little bit of area control and a little bit of a puzzle as you choose when to pull back or when to double down on any individual city, and the consequences that will have as it releases a flood of bottle caps to the winner, thus allowing them to conquer way too much the next turn in. From there we have Ryder the card game. Now I feel bad on this one because I'm going to be a bit mean is the wrong word. I do not think that this is a game that the target audience is going to be people who are used to and playing designer board games. If you watch the video for this game, he talks about how if you're used to the fact that whenever you play a game and then they all have so much luck and then someone can jump in and, just win the game just by sheer luck alone, and he talks about Ryder as if it's a concept, as if a no-luck board game, when I'm no luck, as if a game that is lighter on luck, as if that's a new concept in a way that, as I scrolled through the page, I was fairly confident that I would not see any content creation around the game, to the point that when I scrolled down further and I saw Brian from Game Brigade here, I was like, wait a second, maybe I was wrong, but it's actually just Brian talking about the game and not actually having been exposed to the game or played the game or interacted with the game. Overall, Ryder as a game concept looks fine. I'm just not confident in the development, in anything around the game space, given how it really seems to be coming as a solution to games like Exploding Kittens, as opposed to an actual designer game that is from someone who's really familiar with the space. It could be amazing. Sometimes you do have these weird things where someone can be jumping into the space and have something amazing, something a great fit. I think this might be a good fit, and I think it will fund, by the way. I think it might be a good fit for people who are not as knowledgeable or in the board game space. I think for people in the board game space, pitching something as, innovative in its less luck-dependent approach, I don't think that makes me the target audience for this game. Moving on, we have another game, Taelmoor, the Scan and Play Dungeon Crawler board game. This one, to their credit, they did have content creation around it. I also thought it wouldn't, because this is one of those things where it's like first of its kind, as it talks about a narrative dungeon crawler game, and they use first of its kind in the video, which was not a great look in terms of confidence. Again, it's about the confidence I have that the people designing and playing these games are truly exposed to the wider world of board games. If they aren't, it doesn't mean their game is bad, but it means I don't have confidence that they're designing a game for me so much as for mass market. So I didn't get that degree of confidence here. I did not get the degree of confidence that this is coming from people who are knowledgeable and familiar with the current board game designer tabletop space. A little bit snobbish in the way I'm approaching this, but it's not so much about the snobbish aspect of it as it is about if if someone's going to sell you a computer, you want them to be working and dealing with the types of computers you want. If someone's going to sell you a car, you want them to be knowledgeable and experts in the type of cars you like. That's the aspect I'm looking for. It's not about the snobbery aspect, it's about the aspect that we have two content creators, two designers of board games here who do not seem to be familiar with the general wider board game space. To their credit, I did scroll down and they do have some content creation around the game. Not a ton, but they do have some around it. But overall, this is going to be giving you QR code, scan and play, dungeon crawling adventures with some degree of narrative choice, some degree of impact. Again, looks fine, looks okay, but definitely in the board game adjacent, well, not board game adjacent, definitely in the, again, it's almost funded. I think it will fund. Good for them. Also, the second half of the video I thought was great. Second half of the video was three brothers talking about their love of board games and how it's kept them together even as they live separately apart. So overall, check out the video, check it out, but I'm not confident that I'm the target audience for this game. Which brings us to the first of the current games of the week, which is going to be Platformer. Now, this is actually over. By the time you watch this video, this is over and done with, but I'm still talking about it because sadly, I missed To Back or Not To Back last week. There was not a lot of stuff, and I didn't realize, but by missing it with Platformer's very short window of a campaign, it also meant I didn't have a chance to cover Platformer. I'm still covering it now because there'll be a late pledge. You can jump in on it later at any point, so, you know, if you want to talk about it now, let's talk about it now. Now, Platformer is going to fall into Awakened Realm Light's category of games. This is not their first game that hasn't done tremendously well. I thought it would do better than it did. It's coming in at around, and granted, it's not over yet in my timeline. In your timeline, the darkest timeline, it is over. But at 27,000 euro, it'll probably cross 35,000 euro by the time it's done. Maybe be somewhere shy of that, but somewhere in that range by the time it's done. Which doesn't make it terribly performing, but let's say if we took a look at Knockdown. Knockdown is brought in 58,000 euro. That was their last Awakened Realms game. I think Knockdown had two things going for it that Platformer did not. And no, none of those things are Kickstarter versus GameFound. GameFound's doing tremendously well. Number one is going to be the fact that Knockdown took advantage of other IPs in the Awakened Realms universe. By throwing in Nemesis characters and all that into the game, they give people a lot of reason to jump in just as huge fans of Nemesis. I don't think Platformer took advantage of that at all, and therefore they lost out on a little bit of cross-brand marketing from their other titles. The second aspect is going to be the price point. Platformer looks or comes across as a lighter, cheaper game. So does Knockdown, but Knockdown's price point was in the 30 euro range, maybe it's 25 euro plus shipping, I don't remember exactly, versus Platformer's coming in at 44 euro. Now, both these games, I think they did, to a certain extent, a bit of a mistake. They relied too much on Awakened Realms' larger model that has worked very well for them. I don't think it works as well when you're talking about their lighter games. That model is the idea that they sit there and say, $100 for whatever it is you're getting. And then over the course of the campaign, they double or triple the amount of content you actually get for that $100. I think that works well when you're talking about these bigger, grandiose games like ISS Vanguard, like Aetherfields, like Tainted Grail. I don't think that approach works as well when you start somebody off with a price point of 44 euro. For a game that doesn't look like it should be a 44 euro game at all. It has 3 characters, it's a lighter platforming game, it's a game that the content does not justify the price point. And it doesn't, because the price point is really for twice the amount of content as it's going to be unlocked across the stretch goals. But that gap is big enough that I don't think the approach works as well with lighter games from them. That's going to be a Platformer. Moving on, what else do we have over here? Let's see, okay, we have oh wait, I missed talking about the game. Platformer. Platformer is going to be a game where you're basically going to be running around on a platform, basically, situation where you're going to be tackling you're going to be fighting against other characters as you move up higher and higher up these platforms to eventually take each other out. The game itself is lots of fun. We have a review over on my channel, we have gameplay over on Quacklopes. Lots of fun as far as the gameplay itself, but yeah, that price point is definitely scared a lot of people, not definitely, that price point in my opinion scared a lot of people away from the game, possibly making it a little harder to achieve whatever level it was. That said, if you did back this game, you get the whole Helheim expansion, which gives you just a ton more content, more heroes, more stuff. They also have a Cthulhu boss they just unlocked as the final stretch goal, so a lot of content for this game. It is on the lighter side. As far as should you back it, should you not, as far as holding its value, this is a game where I think that overall it's going to fall into that slightly harder category. I think it's going to be similar to other Awakened Realms games, like Flick of Faith, like, well, Knockdown hasn't arrived yet, but I think it's going to be a game that's going to have a harder time holding its value well. The question is going to be finding those other expansion packs, finding the base game and the other thing. I think it's an okay value. I'm skeptical that it is a great value. Moving on, we have, well, that's not Knockdown. Moving on, we have Blood of the Northmen and Test of Fate expansion. Give me 1 second to resize my screen over here, because I realize I have the screen sized incorrectly, which is a bit of a mistake. Usually I do that before the video, but I forgot to do that. Let's see now. Let's go ahead and play with that. perfect. Let's scroll down and just get this angled. I usually like to have the text over here right aligned with the edge of my, there we go, the edge of my face right there. So, Blood of the Northmen. This is going to be by Carl Shuduk. This is going to be the Test of Faith expansion for Blood of the Northmen, as well as the base game. As well as that, if you back the original base game and you have all those great characters, they're releasing basically little bases, it seems like. They said something else. They said like clips or something, but they're releasing some sort of a thing to distinguish the colors of the various characters in the base game, where all your stuff was just sheer gray. That said, if you're buying into the expansion if you're buying into this for the first time and you're getting the base game and the expansion, then all your stuff will be color coded by the various clans. That was one small critique of the original base game. This is going to be coming in at 50, what do we have over here? We have £35, 35 euro for the Test of Faith expansion. We have 50 euro for the Blood of the Northmen Kickstarter edition, and we have 95 for 80 euro for both of those combined. This is one where I'm a little hesitant on, because if you look at the reviews of the original game, between the rules, between the components, and between the general fiddliness of the game, this has not been well received. It's a 6.1, I believe, on Board Game Geek. It has not been well received. I would not be confident jumping into this again. Carl Shuduk is an amazing designer, but there's too many flags on how the original went, and whether there's enough of a core solid game here to persevere past that. Maybe some of the component issues they improve upon, maybe the rulebook they improve upon. All those things are very possible. But when you see a game that has mostly negative ratings back and forth, and with the best comments being things like, I think there's a good game in here somewhere, it doesn't inspire confidence that this is the time to jump in on the game. Overall, if the base game was anything to go by, this one will not currently hold its value. At least the original one didn't. The original Kickstarter certainly did not. So yeah, this is a little bit of a harder one to justify. If you're really interested in jumping in on it, then by all means, it's one of those things that does have a lower retail availability, which might make Kickstarter your best opportunity. That or the secondhand market. It's always a bit of a gamble when you have smaller audiences, because secondhand availability is not a guarantee, nor is retail, so Kickstarter might often be your best back for something that is otherwise not worth it, which this one I think is less worth it. Moving on, we have Death Road's All-Stars. Death Road's All-Stars, which has it's a bit of a slower first day. Overall, actually, I don't know if that's true. They funded in 44 minutes. I don't remember the first day. I take that back, ignore everything I just said. But crossing 70,000, this one's doing pretty well so far. Just started, relatively just started. I think it started Wednesday, I want to say. Wednesday of last week. That sounds about right. Either way, 1,099 backers so far. This is one that I've covered, Quackle's covered, a whole bunch of other content creators have covered it. This is one where it effectively is a racing game. It's a racing game where you're going to be blowing up other cars along the way. It's a game where you're going to pick your driver, you're going to pick your car, you're going to draft the weapons that go on your vehicle, and then you're going to run around and explode everyone else as you play through the game. That's basically Death Road's All-Stars. You have a few times where your vehicle can basically die to a certain extent. Basically, platings of armor fall off your vehicle one at a time, and last man standing wins, or alternatively, you can actually win the race. That is also a viable pathway to victory. Death Road's All-Stars is going to be giving you 2 to 4 players. It's going to be giving you the base game as well as giving you a ton of content, but the expansions are going to give you even more content. So we have, and there's Kickstarter exclusives as well, by the way. So we have 5 vehicles plus 3 Kickstarter exclusive. We have all these vehicles over here. I've only played with the 5. I'm very curious about the Kickstarter exclusive ones, but they are covered. I cannot see them. This one looks like a motorcycle though. That's pretty cool. This one looks like one of those motorcycles where you have, one motorcycle and then the adjacent motorcycle, whatever those things are called. I have no idea. But we're going to have, 5 plus 3 driver boards. We have 33 plus 20 cards. All those Kickstarter exclusive things are things to pay attention to if you are interested in this game. That's going to be the Kickstarter exclusive content that is otherwise available either secondhand market or on this Kickstarter, and ideally nowhere else. We're going to have more tokens, which are just more tokens to put on the board to track the positioning of the vehicle. That's not extra so much as essential once you have more vehicles. What else do we have over here? We have daily unlocks. We're getting the Kickstarter bonus over here. We have the vehicles that's going to be revealed shortly on day 2. We have the stretch goals. We have the Why Back Now. The Why Back Now giving you all the various content, showing you the exclusive, the extra stuff you're going to be getting as a result of the Kickstarter campaign. Additionally, there are bundle options. The gameplay core box is coming in at $49, and if you get the expansions, that's going to be coming in at $67, an additional $18 to get both of the expansions. You're going to be getting the Death Road's All-Stars Expansion 1 and Expansion 2, otherwise known as Goons and Guns, and Riders in the Storm. Goons and Guns is going to be bringing you, it's introducing a new mechanic of goons and co-pilots, sidekicks, whatever it is, extra things that can continuously modify the variability of who you're playing as. Now you have a driver and a goon or sidekick, whatever, a car, the weapons, adding more variability to your setup. Additionally, the Riders in the Storm expansion is going to be introducing sponsors mechanics, which are basically goals to go for as these sponsors try to reward players for doing various things, as well as weather mechanics in those games. I would say if you're interested in the game, then for the extra $18 you're getting, then by all means get the extra content. I would say this one, as far as holding its value, is going to be in the slightly tough spot. I don't think this is going to be, an amazing back by any sense. But I think the combination of an overall good game, combined with the fact that it does have a decent amount of Kickstarter exclusive content. I mean, going from 5 vehicles to 8, going from 33 weapons to 53 weapons, or whatever that number was, but an additional 20 weapon cards, and there's a decent amount of extra content here to justify the Kickstarter aspect of the game, and I think it is overall a good game. Now, I said it in my video, this is a strategy game that plays like a party game. It's a game where you're laughing together as people get blown up. That is both a positive and a negative. It is a strategy game that is ridiculously good fun to play through. At the same time, it also means that people who are looking for a strategy game might feel a little too much like it's a party game where luck can be a factor, and people looking for a party game might feel like it's a little bit too complicated. That can both be a pro or a con, depending on how you look at it. I think games in this category, which I think platformer also falls itself in the same category to a degree, I don't think they ever get the mass following that some games do because they're playing in both lanes. They have overlap to a degree, but they're not like a pure strategy or a pure laughing party game. So I think it's a good game. I think it will be sought after. I think the reviews on this are going to be good, meaning the reviews so far from everyone I know who's played it has been surprised. And this is one where I put this on a list a long time ago of top Kickstarters, or what was it again? It was 10 Kickstarters to look forward to or something like that. It was about 10 prototypes that I had the opportunity to play and was excited about, and this was one of them. And I can tell you that everyone who I played it with in that session, a bunch of content creators, 3 different content creators, are all people who were initially skeptical, because you say a racing game with weapons and powers and abilities, and people, I mean, it just sounds like the kind of thing that wouldn't work well. In execution, this does work well. So yeah, overall, good game. Recommend checking it out. I think it'll decently hold its value, but I'm also not 100% confident just given the nature of the game. Moving on, we have Distilled, and wow, I am so happy for Dave over here. Dave Beck, Dave Beck, I want to say it's Dave Beck. Dave Beck, yes, right there on the box, tiny little letters. Dave Beck, who, this is what happens when you build community. Also a good game, by the way. You want to do both of those things. Building community with a bad game, not great. Good game with no community, not great. You ideally want to have a good game with a community that you built around it. And overall, yeah, solid job here. $297,000. This is going to cross $500,000 by the time it's done. I'm pretty sure. I think so. Maybe not. And 4,000 backers. That is absolute insanity. Very happy for Dave over here. Very, very happy. Overall, Distilled is basically going to be a game that is a mid-weight Euro that is all about the distillation process. It's all about distilling various forms of alcohol in the game. You're going to basically have different recipes you're trying to go for, some moonshine and vodka that start with, and other recipes you can buy. It has a ton of cards, a ton of asymmetric starting abilities or starting characters with various unique recipes and a starting ability. It has upgrades you can buy for your distillery. My favorite aspect is going to be the tableau building. So you have 30 distillery upgrade cards, you have flavor cards that's going to be added to your brews when you go ahead, not brews, to your distillation recipes or whatever when you age them. You have ingredient cards, market cards, tons and tons of stuff for this game, bringing you a pretty decent mid-weight Euro game that's all about trying to, well, distill different various forms of alcohol. And you're going to be, again, managing that Euro aspect of taking cards from a card row, of managing the various recipes you're buying, managing all these aspects of you have limited money to spend and you have to choose where to spend that money every single round. That's the core idea of Distilled. There's a little bit of push your luck in it, in the sense that in the distillation process, you're going to be adding different things together, and you have to choose how much more to add, because depending on how the distillation ends up, you're going to be removing the top and bottom card from that distillation process, which could result in you not getting exactly what you want, and you instead distilling something that is a bit inferior in what it's doing. That's overall the game. The amount of content creation around the game is solid. The amount of people who seem to be incredibly impressed with this game is incredibly solid. If you look through, like, from how to plays, from this guy over here, from various, from Dan, from the Quack. Who's Dan? Who in the world is Dan? I know the Quacklo team. I don't know Dan. Either way, we have more. We have the Man vs. Meeple. See, David. I know David, okay? I know some people. We have Mark Dainty, who played this more than a dozen times, and every time I've played, I've had a great experience. Mark Dainty is not someone to scoff at. If he puts his testament on a game, he is not someone to shy away from being negative when it's time to be negative on a game. We have Shia from Shay from Ryder Runs Through. So tons and tons of content around the game. Thinker Themer. It's been a long time since we played a Euro game that is this thematic, which is good, but overall, so something that's not interesting, I commented on how thematic the game was. A lot of people did, and I got a comment saying how they misspelled something, although that was really just an issue of England versus US misspelling on the distillation process. Weird tangent to go on. I would edit that out if I actually edited things. We have One Stop Co-op Shop, Euro fans, economic fans, tableau building fans will have a lot of fun with this. Overall, a lot of opinions around this game. Just for full transparency, my own opinion is I really liked it, but also want to see more from it. You can watch my review, and those some of the aspects of what I want to see more, I know they're already doing. I just didn't have a chance to play with those, so it puts me in a bit of a weird space. But I'm excited for the game. I'm intrigued by it. Well, not intrigued. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the game, and I'm also excited for the Africa and Middle East expansion, which I did not have a chance to play. These are going to be available as add-ons, which is a good time to talk about the pledge levels. So, pledge levels. To begin with, for $8, you can get the print and play. If you just want the recipe, that's cute. Clever, Dave. We have over here for the $55 brings you the original blend, the base game pledge, which is giving you the base game pledge. That is going to be giving you all the included stretch goals, only one of which is listed or marked as Kickstarter exclusive. We're going to factor that in a second. And then for $85, you get the all-in, which is basically giving you all three of these add-ons for like a $16 discount, if I did my math correctly. Yeah, you have to add them all up. I believe it's a $16 discount. Those three add-ons are going to be $6 for the premium market playmat. This is not a full board playmat. This is just the market. That's why it's $6, not $35. We have $15 for the Africa and Middle East expansion, and we have $25 for the metal coin upgrade. That's all that. You're going to get a $16 discount in that if you get all of that together in the signature blend. Additionally, if you get the signature blend, you're also going to get the commemorative coaster set and the... what other thing? There's a shot glass too. Why does it not say the shot glass? Oh, because they can't say that. I forgot that. They're adding you can't change pledge levels once you put them on Kickstarter. But you're going to get a shot glass and a commemorative coaster set, plus a $16 discount on all the add-ons, which means if you want basically any of these add-ons, you may as well jump in on the signature blend at that point. It's just too good a deal otherwise. If you want none of the add-ons, if you don't care about metal coins, if you don't care about the expansion, then yeah, if you want none of them, then by all means skip on that and stick with the $55 base pledge. So, should you back it, should you not? Short version is the only thing listed so far as Kickstarter exclusive is going to be that free Kickstarter 18 card expansion. That's nice. That's helpful. That gives you a lot more reason to back the game, and you're going to need that because coming in at, let's say, look at the base game over here, $55 plus $15 is giving you $70 as the price point for this game, and you're getting a Kickstarter mini expansion, which is great. But if you ignore that, then that's a $70 price point for a game that will not be $70 at retail. They've partnered with Mob Vanguard, so this is going to retail, which it should. A game that is doing 4,000 backers on its first, entry to the public. That's insane. It should be picked up at retail. Good for them. But it's one that will not have a $70 price tag. I know that we're seeing higher MSRPs with all the freight issues that are going on. We will see increased MSRPs in games in the next, year or two. I don't know exactly how and where that will play out. It does make some of these should you back it videos a little trickier. It does make some of the judgment calls I will have to make a little trickier because we're dealing with a little bit of an unknown in the board game space and just how much increased costs are going to be a factor. That said, this is not going to be a $70 game when it hits retail. So that price point over there, I would say that if you care about the Kickstarter exclusive, if you care about the free Kickstarter exclusive mini expansion, then I would say then maybe go for it. Otherwise, I would avoid this initial base pledge. I think it'll be cheaper in retail, again, even once you factor in freight increases. That said, maybe you want to get it first, maybe you want to support the publisher. There's a variety of other reasons. If value is there first and foremost, and if you don't care about that Kickstarter exclusive expansion, then I would skip on that. The other reason I can give you to back it would be the signature blend all-in pledge. If you're going to want the expansion and the metal coins and all, and the playmat, tracking down all those things, even if they're not exclusive, trying to get all those things later will likely be a pain. If you're going for the all-in, I would say there's more of a reason to back the Kickstarter, especially once you factor in that discount. The base pledge alone, I don't think is likely worth it. The only real justification would be supporting the creator, getting it earlier, or that Kickstarter exclusive pack. I'm skeptical that the base pledge will hold its value, just given the retail. The all-in is likely going to be a better deal. All said, I am still skeptical that this will hold its value. It's a very good game, but the price point is not small for this very good game. Moving on, we have On Mars Alien Invasion by Vital Lacerda and Ian O'Toole, the expansion to On Mars, bringing you 4 chapters, introducing a Semi-co-op aspect. Is it semi-co-op? Let me see over here. We have a 1 versus many, not semi-co-op. We have a 1 versus many mode, followed by a bunch of cooperative modes, giving you a bunch of ways to experience giving you a bunch of ways to experience on Mars that are different. New stuff for on Mars, basically. This is an expansion that's been pushed off like 4 times. Good to finally see on a Kickstarter. And $49 versus $65 MSRP is going to be the main aspect we're talking about, because in general, Eagle Games does a good job of giving you the Why Back Now section, and the Why Back Now section is fairly transparent. They usually do a good job there, and this is no different. Lots of gameplays around the original, around the new stuff. Let me see if I can scroll down slowly to the Why Back Now while I take a drink. Our pledge to backers. Give me a second here. Our pledge to backers. You'll have supporters of this campaign. You'll have paid in advance, etc., etc. Basically, what they're saying is you're going to get the game earlier than anyone else. They do guarantee that. Very useful for games that have the word Mars in the title. Additionally, for 90 days after, they will only be available at full retail MSRP. So that means your $49 price point versus $65 is actually a savings, but then after that, it is a bit of a question, and once you factor in shipping, that basically means you're paying $9 to $11 plus $49, so you're paying basically $60 on a game that has an MSRP of $65, and there's no extras in this. There's no extra content, no Kickstarter exclusive, no deluxeifications in this game, which means the main reason to back this one would be to support Eagle Griffin Games or to get the game earlier. Past that, you will be able to get this game cheaper down the road. Just the nature of MSRPs. A $65 MSRP, paying $60 now. It's unless they drastically raise MSRPs, which is possible. Again, it means these judgment calls are going to be weird in the next year or two. But yeah, I think this is cheaper at retail. If you're in a rush for this one, go ahead and back it. You're not talking about that much of a difference, but it's likely going to be cheaper at retail. Next up, we have I'm Right, You're Wrong, a card game about dumb arguments. This one funded. Great. Happy for them. Overall, this looks like a lighter card game in the vein of games like Exploding Kittens, in the vein of games, and not to say games like Exploding Kittens can't be fun. I actually enjoy Exploding Kittens. It's just there's a lot of other games that have these general, you play a card, I respond, I play a card, choose when and how to respond, and that's the entire game. I'm Right, You're Wrong looks like it's going to be in that vein, so you can attack, you can take the high road, you can set traps and wait, all these kinds of small, little, light, fun card games. This is the game that Ryder over here was talking about when he said, are you sick of luck-based games where someone can just walk in and win? He's talking about I'm Right, You're Wrong. Will it hold its value? Almost certainly not. These games very rarely do, with rare exceptions, like getting all the promo content for Exploding Kittens. Sometimes that can actually hold its value, but that's because they have a large fan base and following past the actual game itself. Moving on to Rat Queens from Floodgate Games. This is an interesting one and a bit of a tough one to call. Rat Queens is giving you basically not really a tower defense, but a sort of tower defense kind of situation. You're going to basically be playing as these various rat queens in the game, and you're going to have various enemies flooding against trying to take down the city or attack the city, and every round you're playing a bit of a puzzle. In fact, I highly recommend the Brothers Murph. The Brothers Murph had an excellent video, 2 minutes long, that really go into how the game plays and do so very well. You can find it on this page. The basic idea is you have the city over here, you're going to be playing enemy cards to the city, and then you're going to be attacking with your rat queens, as well as working together with each other, using your powers and your abilities to attack and take out the enemies. Some enemies will make it through, and eventually, at the end of the game, the enemies that made it through the most are going to determine the boss you fight, and then you'll work together to take that boss out. There is a high degree of working together in this game as you drop tokens around the board that other players can pick up and then benefit from teamwork together with you. If you look at the various testimonials, we have, what do we have over here? We have, let's go through this, puts a true emphasis on cooperative play. Those friendship powers are the coolest thing I've seen in a co-op game. It has a great and unique cooperative puzzle. Rat Queens brings a lot of character to the table and isn't afraid to have fun, and we really love the emphasis the game puts on teamwork and friendship. So multiple testimonials all focusing on that teamwork aspect, on that working together degree. There is a solo mode as well in case you either don't want to or don't have anyone to work together with. It's going to be giving you 4 Rat Queens in the base game, 1 additional Rat Queen in the expansion, all with their own miniatures, as well as a variety of bosses you'll be fighting. This is based on Rat Queens, which is its own intellectual property, so it is based on something else. This is going to be coming with a few pledge levels over here. For $49, we get the Novice Adventurer, bringing you the base game of Rat Queens. In general, I'd recommend waiting for retail rather than getting this one over here. Next up, we have the Battle Maiden, which is going to give you basically the Braga. I'm not sure if it's Braga or Braga. The Braga expansion, all stretch goals, and the mini expansion. That's going to be over here. So you can see the $49 base game over here. Let's go scroll down and show you everything. We have the $79 Battle Maiden, which is giving you all the other stuff, plus the following. We have Braga, we have Voon, we have Braga player board, we have stretch goals, and we have Ultimate Rat Queens from $139 down from $200 supposedly for everything in the base game, and Battle Maiden Plus, Evil Hand expansion, metal coins, unique player sleeves, playmat, extra dice set, basically all the stuff you might want for this game. Lots and lots of content for the game. They talk about these savings, why back now? I love it when campaigns make my life easy. Why back now? Stretch goals and exclusive, promos and content that won't be added to the retail game. Now, they didn't really list what is exclusive, or at least if they did, I could not find it, but it seems like there's going to be promotional content, like small promos. If you look through the various stretch goals, there's a ton of extra content that will be unlocked. Some of it may be exclusive, some of it not. I don't know. They didn't list which stuff will be exclusive, but in theory, it's all extra stuff you'll have to pay for and or track down. We have the Get It Cheaper, save anywhere from 20 to 40% on the Kickstarter. That's going to be relative to the fact that if you look over here, you can see on the sidebars, at $79, you're saving $20 based on buying all the stuff separately. At the $139, you're saving $50 based on when you'd otherwise buy it all separately. That goes to the $139 versus $139 versus $200. That's a $59. That's a $60 savings. They're saving save 50 plus. Maybe it's dependent on all the other stuff all the other stuff they've unlocked since. This game is playable on Tabletop Simulator if you want to check it out, I believe, and maybe Tabletopia. I recall seeing it somewhere playable. Let's scroll down a bit and see. Here we go. Tabletop Simulator, you can play it over here. You can download the rulebook, check that out, and you can go through all these stretch goals, covering all the mini promos, expansions, all the stuff that's unlocked for the game. Should you back it, should you not? Oh, let's cover add-ons first. Add-ons over here, deluxe metal coins, the Palisade playmat, the Rat Queens, all the stuff over here. Keep in mind, many of these are included in the various pledge levels depending on what you get. So, should you back it, should you not? Overall, this is a harder one to call. This is a unique theme with a unique following. Depends on the exclusive stuff as well, because promo things are... in general, no one loves tracking down a million promos, so having them all in one place is helpful, even if they aren't exclusive. That said, the degree to which these things are exclusive does affect the overall value. $139 for this game is a fairly high price point for all the stuff you're getting, but that also is the best discount from, buying it. If you just buy just the base game, it's probably not worth it. The more you buy, the more you save, but the more you buy, the more you're looking at a $140 teamwork game where you roll dice. Is it worth it? And it has like 5-6 more. Fine, it has like 8 miniatures. It's not, the miniatures alone don't justify it. It's a little bit of a harder place to be in. I would say overall this falls in the category of one that I am not confident on the value. It's not that I think it's a bad value. It's not that I think it's a good value. It's that I'm not confident on the value. If you're getting the base game alone, wait for retail. Once you factor in shipping, even with the increased MSRP, the base game alone is almost certainly going to be cheaper at retail. Versus if you're getting more and more stuff, it might be more worth it, but I'm just not confident. It's a very high price point for the type of game it is, so it might hold up, it might not. I'm not willing to double down on it. Moving on, we have Soul Raiders. Soul Raiders, a new take on exploration and adventuring genre for 1 to 4 players. I agree with them. It is a new take. 2,000 backers, $200,000 raised. This is Kickstarter exclusive. Let me say that again. This is Kickstarter exclusive. The entire game and campaign. Let's see if we can find it over here. Somewhere listed. Where does it say why Kickstarter? Soul Raiders will never be on the shelves of a retail store, which means your options are this Kickstarter or the secondhand market. That's it. And that can go either way because this game is fairly unique. So, a few things here. I covered this game. I gave a review of it, kind of more of a first impressions than a review because I only played the tutorial scenario of this game. I can't possibly give you a review because what I got was a taste of the experience, but not nearly enough to comment on my impressions of it. I was very intrigued. I believe the testimonial I gave them, which they didn't use, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm not offended at all, is Crackle Open Board Game Co. Hopeful and intrigued. And that's genuinely how I feel. I am intrigued by this game. I am pulled in by what it's promising, but it very much depends on whether the game actually gives you a genuine feeling of exploration. Meaning, we went through a fairly linear progression. Fairly linear. There are ways you can branch a little bit, but minimal gaps in how you can actually branch. It did a great job teaching us the game, exposing us to the mechanics, and the gameplay was on the lighter side, but I would say rewarding enough that I appreciated and enjoyed the gameplay. But the story progression in this point-and-click adventure, it's very much a point-and-click adventure. You're going to go ahead and be looking at various cards, trying to figure out how you want to spend your cards to take those actions as you move around, as you attack, as you turn gears, unlock doors, flip cards, whole bunch of things going on in this game. But ultimately, it was fairly linear in what we experienced, so I have a hard time extrapolating that. That said, that said, they invited me and a bunch of content creators to be on like these kind of behind the scenes things where they showed us the promise, the story of how you can explore the game. And granted, what I'm about to say next is biased by seeing things and not going through them, not actually experience of the game, so take it with a grain of salt. But overall, to begin with, it looks like any individual player is likely going to see 20% of a full adventure as you go through it, meaning you have a ton. They showed us the whole branching pathways of the way this thing goes, the whole flow charts of this leads to here, and that leads to there, and this leads to there, and how you can get from point A, the beginning, to point B, the ending, in entirely different pathways in the game, experiencing different things, unlocking different companions, choosing different pathways and trapdoors and ways you get to the end point in any individual mission in the 3-campaign arc. And to that end, if any single player experiences roughly 20%, and let's say you take a 2-player game, 2 players will likely have some degree of overlap, which means 2 players together might experience 30% of the game, which means that you can jump back into it 3-4 more times, still having little tastes of what you experienced the first time, but never fully seeing the game until you've played through it a bunch of times. And judging from my own playthrough, I would go through it again if I actually felt there was more to explore. I don't care about the point A and point B, the beginning and ending. I care about the sense of exploration this game may or may not give me as I go through it. But I will say that from my behind the scenes look at how the game is structured and what's going on and the various challenges and encounters you will have, I am even more intrigued than I was before. I was intrigued before, I'm even more intrigued now. Additionally, I will say, for those who wanted a save system, they have actually answered in the updates. They never anticipated that people would want a save session. That said, I don't know why they didn't anticipate that people might not want to sit still for 3 hours, but they are going to be adding a save system, a way for you to basically dive into the game, play for an hour, pack it up, put it away, and then take it out again. From playing the game, I don't think it would be that complicated to do. It really just involves having some sort of pouch or pack where you put the stuff you're currently using. I don't think it would be the hardest, not necessarily the easiest, but I can totally see a save system being created for this game. That's basically Soul Raiders. In terms of the price points, price points are going to be giving you 2 different options. For €70, you have the standard edition of the game, and for €110, you have the deluxe Grimoire edition. This is one where I actually do lean more towards standard, especially if you're trying to be cost conscious, because this game, incredibly unique as it's doing, the actual Grimoire versus standard, which is going to be an additional $50 basically for this game, the difference in content is fairly minimal. You get a magnetic box instead of a non-magnetic box. It's nice. I don't know if it's $50 nice. You have a few miniatures, and it's a few miniatures. You have these teleportation portal miniatures instead of these standees, and then you have these miniatures over here instead of these standees. They're nice. Again, I don't know if, and by the way, miniatures were actually really nice quality, but again, I don't know if it's $50 nice. You have some tuck boxes, you have some more tuck boxes. They're just tuck boxes. There's no additional content there. The main additional content you're going to be getting is going to be this lore book. What I would say, my own personal opinion, take it for what you will, is if you're interested in the lore book, then I kind of lean a little bit more towards the Grimoire edition. You're getting enough extra stuff to kind of justify it. If you're not interested in the lore book, then I'd recommend just sticking with the standard edition. I don't know if the Grimoire edition is worth it, and because this game is Kickstarter exclusive, yes, the standard edition still has merit. As far as will it hold its value, will it not? I think it will. Like 7th Continent before, Soul Raiders is bringing you fairly unique gameplay that is very well done, or at least seemingly is very well done. 7th Continent is a game that is lighter on the gameplay, as is Soul Raiders. I would argue that I prefer the gameplay of Soul Raiders to 7th Continent. I appreciated the deck building aspect and the allocation of different cards towards different movement, fighting, interactions that you can have in this game. So I actually prefer the gameplay of Soul Raiders. To me, the biggest question is going to be that narrative arc, and the question of, do you genuinely have branching pathways that give you a real sense of exploration, of journey, of adventure? And seemingly, I think they do. I think that it will be giving you location seats that have a ton of different flavor and story to it as you unlock different things, as you release floods of water, as you defeat noble beasts or creatures. I think the story here is going to deliver for many people. And that, when it comes to a Kickstarter game, ultimately the only thing that matters is, are people clamoring to get their hands on it later? I think this might be a game that's hard to get. If you like the concept of point and click, if you like games like 7th Continent, then I think Soul Raiders is worth looking into. Moving on, we have Volfyirion Guilds. We're down to 3 left, including this one. Volfyirion Guilds is bringing you $200,000. Good on them. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm sorry. One more thing. Watch this video. No, really, genuinely, watch this video. One of the best videos I've seen in a long time. Soul Raiders, the video will thematically and mechanically motivate you to be much more interested in this game. Watch the video. Moving on, Volfyirion Guilds. Volfyirion Guilds is going to be bringing you deck building, and the Kickstarter is actually addressing some of the things I kind of wanted to see more from this game. Volfyirion Guilds is bringing you, basically, it's an expansion to Volfyirion, giving you tons more content, tons more. It's giving you the original base game cards, more cards, other cards, more expansions, modules, and they do a great job breaking it down on every single pledge level, a solid job. The FAQ, a little too much. Tabula, your 39 question FAQ is no longer an FAQ, now it's homework, so a lot of people are not going to read through 39 questions to see if their individual question is there, unless of course they do Control F to try to find, Control F VAT or whatever the question is they're looking for. But yeah, 39 questions is a bit too much. You need to rein that in again, but your pledge levels are amazing. So let's go through it. This is going to be a deck building game in the vein of typical standard 2-player deck builders, Star Realms, and it's 1 to 4, I know, but it's primarily going to be a 2-player experience. You could play it solo as well, and you could play with more than 2, but I think it's designed primarily 2-player. The game itself is going to be bringing you classic simple deck building. Start with 10 cards, generate outwards from there, and go ahead and use your resources that you generated, whether economy, whether attacking, whether knowledge, I believe is the third one, to go ahead and manipulate the board's game state, taking out your opponents, moving the dragon from one location to another, and buying more cards for your engine. So just classic deck building, lots of tokens over here, and lots and lots and lots of pledge levels. So let's go ahead and let's look at this for a second. That's their pretty little box with all the content packed in. That is pretty. It's pretty. And underneath you have the playmats. That's a lot of stuff packed into a nice little box. So what is the game giving you over here? Let's go through the various stretch goals over here, the various pledge levels. But before we do, let's just look through a ton of cards. We have the Kickstarter edition box. We have 6 agent cards. We have 4+5 vault cards. We have monster cards. And they do a great job labeling what's Kickstarter exclusive as well. And there is a lot of Kickstarter exclusive content here. We have the command cards, the 6+12 troop cards. We have this 12+2 building cards. All the +2 are going to be additional things added. We have the arbiter card with the rules, more city cards. We have the starting cards, the Volfyrion's Lair, Volfyrion's Lookout, just tons and tons of stuff over here. The Kickstarter exclusive little box there. The Ploy expansion. So there's 2 expansions, both adding more content to the game in a way that intrigues me, because I said I wanted more text-based content. I wanted more content that I like the general game, but I felt it needed a little bit more intricacy in the way you can actually interact with the game, and the expansions that they have do seem to adjust for that. So we have the Ploy expansion over here. We have the Omen expansion, which give you like this card over here, the Omen expansion, just win the game, rebuild a city. At the end of the turn, choose up to 5 wonders removed from the game and play them. There are some insane Omen cards that you can accomplish if you get the right combination of various colors and or symbols in the game. We have 34 more cards over here. Then we have the Wonders pack, giving you a bunch of wonders. We have a tie-in with Mysthia, giving you champions of Mysthia into your game, which is going to be cool if you like Mysthia, and you get to see them now in this game as well. We have the Journey pack. Again, just more and more content. We have the Universal box. Tons of content. And it fits all this stuff. All that stuff there. We have the game overview. Past that, let's go ahead to the pledge levels. So, pledge levels. They did a great job over here. 14 euros for the base game. I don't recommend that one. Just wait for retail if that's your goal. If you're just getting this, I'd recommend passing. 24 euros for all of this. Volfyirion Guilds Kickstarter edition, which gives you the Kickstarter edition box. It gives you the Wonder Pack, and it's giving you all these Kickstarter exclusive stuff as well. We have Declarer's Pride, 46 euro, giving you all of this and giving you a breakdown of everything that's included as well as the discount for going this pledge level. So not only do they show you the discount or all that, they also show you every single thing that's included, what it adds up to, and what you pay for that. That's great. It's so ridiculously clear, which is important when you have as many pledge levels as they do. We have the Ilvash History, 55 euro. All of this included, all the Kickstarter exclusive stuff over here. We have the Mysthia Champions, we have the Wonder Pack, we have the 21 Unlock Stretch Goal cards, tons of stuff over there. We have the Kirandar Awakening, 68 euro. I think that's the last pledge. Yeah, over there. Kirandar Awakening, giving you 68 euro. 96 euro worth of content if bought separately, and all this Kickstarter exclusive content for the game overall. Should you back it, should you not? So pledge levels are a lot to go into. I won't heavily delve into any single one. I would say pick the ones that seem to have some degree of Kickstarter exclusive content and that seem to cater to what you're actually looking for in the game. I think this one is less likely to hold its value, but it also getting this stuff separately would be a pain. I think that in general, you're looking at, I think, Star Realms is going to be a good reference point. Star Realms, Hero Realms, when they had their giant Kickstarter deck-building games with all the packs and all the things. I think in general, if you are interested in the game, tracking down that stuff is generally a pain, and people don't like doing it. So if you want the stuff, I kind of recommend getting it, especially at the price point. It's not that bad. I mean, it's a lot of money for a bunch of cards, but you get a lot of cards, a lot of content. You're getting a ton of little modules and packs and all that. But as far as will it hold its value, I think it's likely to be whatever you're paying for it is over here. I think you're likely to get back a little bit less for it. I think these games in general, again, looking at Star Realms as a good reference point, again, I think that if you look at the secondhand pricing on those, trying to get what you want might be a pain. Trying to get your money back, usually you take a bit of a hit on them. The popularity of these games and is not equal to the demand of them, if that makes sense. It's one that people like them. They're well rated, but getting all the content versus just getting, a retail pack at $10, your options for this game are going light on it and saving a lot of money, or going heavy, at which point the Kickstarter is going to be your safest and quickest way to get everything, including a bunch of playmats, by the way. So getting those playmats as well in that breakdown over there. 2 more. Spire's End Hildegard, a solo and cooperative card game adventure. And to begin with, this is not an expansion. This is a standalone game from Spire's End, taking a bit of a pathway of following Hildegard through this journey. Where Spire's End was much darker, Hildegard is going to be, it's going to be, you're fighting pumpkins over here, but it's going to be on the lighter side, all things considered. $117,000, 2,660 backers, 26 days to go. I'm very excited for them. Great job over here. I need to track down a copy of Spire's End because it looks cool. I need to play Hildegard because it looks cool. It's going to be a journey exploration game. It's going to be a game where you have a card and a pathway. You wake up to the promise of adventures. Do you either A, to be living in a pristine condition, a bareness of Seacrest Cliffs, do you go for the mercantile or breakfast? I'm always going for breakfast first. So you're going through these cards, exploring and interacting with the cards in various ways, fighting various baddies in various ways as you go through this adventure. The art looks gorgeous. I am all into this game right now. I want to look at this Hildegard fighting against the scarecrow. Crazy, ridiculous. But this is going to be a narrative game that, like Soul Raiders before it, is going to be on the lighter side as far as the gameplay mechanics and all that. Giving you mechanics, don't get me wrong. It's giving you gameplay and mechanics, but it's going to be on the lighter side. And it's Kickstarter exclusive. Now, I don't think they said officially it's Kickstarter exclusive. That's not true. I take it back. It's not going to retail. There's a big difference there. This is a game where if you look at the original game, Spire's End, he did sell it on his website, and he sold it on Kickstarter. It was not available anywhere else. In fact, the original Spire's End is all gone unless you constantly hit refresh again and again and again to get this Grey Oaks bundle where you can get the original game. This is a game where the original game did do well on the secondhand market. The low availability of the game combined with the high ratings. The original game is an 8.1 on Board Game Geek. I believe this is the one that's going to be hard to get past either getting it on Kickstarter, on his website, or the secondhand market. And if the secondhand market is anything to go by, then this is one that will hold its value and do just fine in that sense. Last up, we have Bantam West, which I will not be talking about the value that much on this one, but I will be talking about it not necessarily next week, but the week after. It depends on when we have the next two back or not to back. And the reason for that is because they posted that they're still talking about what's Kickstarter exclusive and what's not, and so we have to wait on that. So I'm going to hold off on any value discussion around this. I would say subscribe to the channel so you get all the updates on Bantam West as we cover it later. But I'll talk about the game a bit. Bantam West, $200,000, 1,700 backers. Another game where I'm very happy for Ike. I'm very happy for the community building he's done. The games, the reaching out, the exposing a ton of people to this game, giving them the tabletop simulators, walk through his plays. He has done another great job. Like Dave before, he did a great job. This is another one actually that was on, I think, both Distilled and actually that's a good point. Distilled and Death Road's All Stars and Bantam West were all in that video I did of top 10 Kickstarters that I played that I was looking forward to, and Bantam West is in this grouping. Bantam West is one that it gives you a giant sandbox adventure in a Western themed as you go through these various locations and build out your cowboy in a ton of different ways. I have a review on this if you want to check it out on the channel. This is one that is incredibly sandboxy in what it's doing. It gives you tons of pathways, the mounts you acquire, the ways you get notoriety, lots of different things you can do in this game. Very impressive in the depth that it's bringing, and it's one which is constantly being iterated upon. If you watch the update on day 2, Ike's played this game like 60 times, and he keeps playing it again and again because they are constantly iterating. This is very much a game that is in the development process, far enough along that they've been able to show and convince a lot of people that there's a good game here, but one that is not in any way done with iterating. It's not in any way done with the development, the testing, the direction this game is going, and the way it's continuously being play tested upon. It's one where hopefully there'll be a gameplay on it. We'll see. I don't know. I believe if you like the Quackalope video or something like that, then you can convince him to do a full gameplay. We'll see. Incredibly complex, incredibly in depth in what the game is doing. You have these people you can recruit, helpers or assistants in the game that will then die and give you rewards along the way when they die, which is a little bit fun. But you can also get notoriety if you're the first person to have that happen. That can be tons of different ways. You're also going to have your individual player goals that give you a little bit of a direction to go with, but each character has multiple player goals that they can go with, so you have a freedom of choosing different pathways. You have a kind of both the open sense of tons of different ways you can develop, but also a little bit of a guided situation of basically you just want to look at the ways you can get notoriety in this game, and then pursue those ways as you go through the game and figure out which ones are going to give you the best way to gain notoriety at different points, which will depend on the length of the game you're playing. You can play to 5, 10, 15, or 20 points, all of which will completely change the experience you're having and the degree to which you want to dive down any one individual pathway over the other. There are a few Kickstarter exclusive things so far, like this miniature over here, but not a lot has been listed. A lot of stretch goals have been unlocked so far. They're continuously unlocking more. We will have to wait and see on the value, the price point. I'll tell you the price point and the pledge levels. For $97, you get basically the core game and everything else, and for $150, you get all the extra stuff. You get the metal coins, you get the train upgrade, you get the upgraded first player token, a collectible Bantam Planet postcard. So 2 main pledge levels over there, past doubling up. If you want to get the collector's cash, you can go ahead and split that with a friend, or you can just go on the retailer's handshake, which you do not need to be a retailer to do. This is basically their equivalent of a group pledge for people. If you want to group together and get 4 copies of this game, by all means. I'm curious what gaming group you're in, though, that you feel the need to own 4 different copies of it. Maybe just friends around town. I don't really know. Not my questions to ask. That is going to be Bantam West. We will be covering this again in the future, and they should you back or should you not. I do want to see what is Kickstarter exclusive, because while $97 for this game I think is worth it in and of itself and the sheer amount of content this game is giving you, there's still the question of, well, what's the retail price? Maybe it's going to be cheaper at retail. Who's to really say until we know more about the Kickstarter exclusive aspects of this game and what is, well, Kickstarter exclusive. That is everything. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good one. "54 minutes. Jeez. This is the problem. And it's not a good day for this either, because I have so much stuff going on. So, let's go ahead. Let's just show you one more thing. Basically, what I have going on over here is, if we go back to this screen, when you're watching this, I'm currently down with Ivy Games playing Mythic Mischief. So I'm going to be playing this over there with Ivy Games, with Ivy Studios. And by the way, I put out a video last week on bias. And yes, I am biased towards Ivy Games because I already like them. I'm a big fan of Austin. He and I talk a lot. I'd say we're friends. And so I am biased either way. Hopefully my coverage will still be fair. But you know, you can watch the video on bias. You can get an idea. But yes, I will be telling you what I liked and didn't like about Mythic Mischief. And I can't even pull the whole, not showing you, because I've told you how I'm playing it. But overall, the game does look fun, by the way. I've read through the rules already. The game looks like a bit of a puzzle exploration game, bringing you their level of class. My main question is going to be on the type of game it is to the price point. We'll talk about that later. That's going to be Mythic Mischief. It looks cool, looks fun, powers and abilities, and a little puzzle. So the combine the puzzle elements of powers and abilities, that's what has me pulled in. I mean, this art, I cannot get over it. Such a unique, solid thing. Let's see over here. We have Meet the Mischiefs, we have the vampires, and the trolls, and the witches, and the Franks. I don't actually, see, interesting, thematically I don't actually care. I find this mashing of worlds in a high school universe with different types of things, I don't actually care about that. But when I look at like these pictures, this looks gorgeous. Either way, that's where I am right now. So if you comment and I don't comment back, I am a little busy today playing games with Jeremy Howard. I'm playing against Jeremy Howard. I'm looking forward to that. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.